Everyone's favorite famous gamer feminist, Anita Sarkeesian, made some comments about YouTube, the rabbit hole, Joe Rogan, and accidentally disproved the whole rabbit hole narrative while trying to talk about its existence, showing a couple things. For those that aren't familiar with the rabbit hole theory, it's this idea that you go on YouTube and then YouTube keeps feeding you more and more radical nonsense. The whole theory is bunk. It makes literally no sense. And it's exemplified by exactly what these media types and feminists have been saying about the YouTube rabbit hole. It's not real. What they're really complaining about is that their ideas are fringe and not accepted by the majority of people. Well, of course, YouTube panics and then caters to the tiny fringe. Case in point, everything they changed after these people talked about the rabbit hole. It's not real, and I'm going to show you how Anita Sarkeesian actually disproved it. The story from Reclaim the Net. Anita Sarkeesian slams extremely dangerous YouTube and Joe Rogan rabbit hole. A differing opinion is now a rabbit hole. The story says, in 2014, Sarkeesian became one of the figures at the center of the massive Gamergate controversy after challenging the gaming industry through her lens as a feminist media critic. A polarizing figure, her activism or media criticism, if you like, has earned her a star status among some and strong disapproval among others. Duke University's Keenan Institute for Ethics is publishing a series of interviews now, including one with Sarkeesian. Asked about the primary ethical dilemma in modern media, Sarkeesian first brings up YouTube's algorithms. At its core, YouTube is a money-making machine for Google that sells ads and readily sways its policies according to pressure to protect that business. But Sarkeesian also sees it as a modern-day soapbox that's incredibly important for discourse. Well, that's true. That's absolutely true. You see, with the rise of YouTube and other independent social media platforms, regular people now have a chance to actually challenge the mainstream media. Of course, activists infiltrated the mainstream media because these companies were desperate for money and wanted easily clickable, rage-inducing content. And now that they have that power, they're trying to shut down regular people's opinions. Well, lo and behold, the far left is fringe. And moderates on YouTube are just that, like regular people and moderates, like Joe Rogan, for instance. I hope you all realize he's the most popular podcaster in the world. A lot of people share his opinions and think what he has to say is good. Let's read. There are various reasons why observers criticize YouTube's use of algorithms to surface, promote, or downgrade content, but Sarkeesian specifically takes on YouTube recommendations and the algorithm behind it. The talking point has become a favorite on the progressive spectrum of the U.S. political and media scene, ostensibly because it is not controlled tightly in a way they would like, and instead allows content to become visible that they believe should be hidden. And I'll stop and tell you this right now. This channel and my main channel are on a blacklist. You can't Google them. I'm not kidding. You can take the title of this video, Google search it. It won't come up. When you Google search my main channel, which is youtube.com/Timcast, all of the Facebook versions pop up. That's how screwed up it is. YouTube knows they're ceding ground to Facebook, and Facebook's loving it. I'll take this time to say, if you like the content, subscribe to this channel because, well, YouTube's not surfacing my content for newer viewers, not like they used to. We'll see what happens. They say, the story goes on. YouTube's main concern is to secure more engagement from users. But the thinking seems to be that if pressured hard enough, the giant might tweak the algorithm even more to the detriment of its own business. Sarkeesian gives an example of what she thinks is wrong. She said, and this is the best part, you watch one of my videos and it says, you like feminism? Here's a whole bunch of anti-feminist videos. You're going to love this. You can very easily go down a rabbit hole. Whoa, full stop. Wait a minute. I thought the story was that if you watched comments about feminism, videos about feminism, you would get even more extremist feminist content. I thought the narrative that we read was that if you read about vegetarianism, they'll send you to vegan content. What's this? She's saying that if you watch a feminist video, they'll send you to anti-feminist content. Well, that debunks the whole narrative of the rabbit hole right off the bat. If YouTube is going to feed you contradictory information, well, then there's no real rabbit hole, is there? You have to choose to watch something. Dare I say it? Perhaps these fringe feminist far left ideas are just unpopular nonsense that nobody wants to watch. So when YouTube recommends both, people choose not to watch yours. Uh-oh. So what really ends up happening, these people don't want differing opinions. They want to tightly control ideas. And it reminds me so much of Sweden. Do you remember the Sweden thing with, Trump said last night in Sweden? I went down there. Maybe many of you weren't following me at the time. I went to Sweden. You see, the media in Sweden won't tell you the truth out of a fear the truth will make you racist. There was one story where it was either a migrant or refugee committed a crime. And so they pixelated the face and the hands, but then changed the color of the pixelation to be white. So it looked like the criminal was white. They don't want you to know the crime stats out of a fear you will become racist. They believe they have a moral obligation to prevent it. That sounds horrifying. I mean, the truth is the truth. If people can't understand the truth, well, what are you going to do about it? Lie? Apparently, yes. That's what she's really talking about. She's not concerned YouTube itself will radicalize people. She's concerned that ideas that aren't hers are more appealing to the average person. Aw, too bad. That's just how it's supposed to work. In the end, what we can really see is that YouTube is a marketplace of ideas, and the left does not do as well when it comes to hard politics. Now, obviously, when it comes to mainstream commentary, they do really well. And I think that shows you that many of these people aren't really paying attention and don't really know what's going on. But those that choose, when given a feminist video or an anti-feminist video, guess what they're picking? Anti-feminist. Why? There's a lot of reasons. But suffice it to say, your content probably is just not that good. Your ideology is unappealing and regular people don't want to be involved. The story goes on. The argument seems to be that users should be kept strictly in their echo chambers and that being exposed to a different point of view is a rabbit hole. It's unclear if the rabbit hole argument works the other way around. Is it problematic to watch an anti-feminist video and be recommended a bunch of feminist ones? The theme of keeping information and the message on brand all the time surfaces again when Sarkeesian names what she sees as another ethical problem in media. Hosts whose guests are not carbon copies of themselves. Take Joe Rogan. She said, you might see, let's say, a video of Joe Rogan and you're like, oh, cool, this guy is interesting. He interviews interesting people. And then you start to watch all of his programming and you start to see who he brings on. Like 99% run-of-the-mill people across the political spectrum. And then a small handful of high-profile moderates or conservatives. Like Rogan's got 1,500 or so episodes. We'll include the MMA stuff. It's all on the same channel. So he's got 1,500 episodes, and a couple dozen out of that are people you don't like. Well, you think what he's saying is totally reasonable, but his guests might say some things that are a little extreme, a little wacky, or a little conspiracy theorist, and might begin to think, but if this guy who I've been watching for a while thinks he's cool, then maybe he is. And then you go down that rabbit hole. What rabbit hole is that? Seriously? I can't stand this. The New York Times did the same story, and they actually proved there is no rabbit hole. Every single time it comes up, they're just lying. They make this stuff up. I guess you guys are lucky you're watching me, but most people who probably aren't think it's real. Logic dictates that a host and their guests agreeing on everything and speaking in the same voice would get boring pretty quickly. But according to Sarkeesian, Rogan's way is just another rabbit hole. But I'll tell you what, I actually encourage you to watch her content, see what she has to say. I think she's entitled to her opinion. I just think she's wrong. A lot of people, they really, really don't like her for a lot of reasons. And you know what? That's fine. You don't got to like anybody. But I will say in this instance, let's be respectful. I can think she's absolutely wrong and argue about her opinion, but I'm glad she has one. I'm glad we live in a country where the debate can actually happen. And I really do mean this. For all of the bad that comes with it, I recognize something they don't. Free speech means awful ideas are going to get spread around and people will push them, and you combat them with better ideas and better logic to prove your point. So I'm grateful. We live in a country with free speech, but these people are doing the opposite of what, should happen. They don't respect that other people have different ideas. They lie, they cheat, and they steal. So we are at a fundamental disadvantage when we fight for free expression and we fight for the true marketplace of ideas. Because I have no problem with her speaking, but I'd be willing to bet she absolutely does have a problem with me speaking, or at least with my content being recommended. Now, of course, Tim Pool's the milquetoast fence sitter. I'm sure she doesn't really care all that much. And I got to be honest, I think a lot of people really, really hate her, and I think people need to chill out a little bit. Go after the ideas, not the person. Avoid the name calling and all that stuff. I think it's fair to criticize her for a lot of the really dumb things she said in the past, but I wish everybody was a bit more civil, especially on the internet. That goes for everybody, man, regardless. But I'll wrap this up again by just saying this. You as a free speech minded individual, you should know that these people will take away your right to speak in a moment's notice. But we respect their right to speech, and they use that against us, which means defending free speech is substantially harder than trying to take it away. I don't know, whatever, man. Look, Joe Rogan is one of the most popular comedians and podcasters in the world. If not, he is probably the most popular podcaster in the world. You're insane if you're going to try and turn people against him. Like, you're talking to a tiny, tiny fraction of the world. I'll leave it there. Stick around. A couple more segments coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.